Trying to come up with the ultimate offseason game plan for your Minnesota Vikings. It's very simple. On the defensive side of the ball, as long as Brian Flores is running the show, which certainly appears to be the case for a second straight year, you just need better players. Upgrade the personnel on that side of the ball, and you'll be fine. Offense, however, is a bit more complicated than that. First off, you need a new play caller, an offensive coordinator that calls the plays, whether that's going to be Wes Phillips, Keenan McCardell, anybody not named Kevin O'Connell. A few upgrades with starters, center, running back one, for example. And lastly, you need to draft a young quarterback, whether he's a day one starter or he has to sit for a year or two. It doesn't matter. You got to keep drafting these guys until you feel confident enough to say, we have our new franchise quarterback. Investing in the trenches, that has to be the focus from here on out. If you ever want to put yourselves in the conversations as far as being a true contender, you need to put yourselves in a position to consistently compete and win the battles at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Right now, the Vikings are nowhere close to that. But before we get a little bit deeper into that aspect, I saw this from Charlie Walters of the Pioneer Press talking about the starting quarterback, soon to be a free agent. Says, quote, "The buzz now is that it will take $90 million guaranteed for 2 years, despite that he's still not yet fully recovered from Achilles surgery in November to sign free agent quarterback Kirk Cousins. If that's the case, he certainly won't get that from the Vikings. Nor should he. If I'm Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah and Kirk's camp approaches me in this hypothetical situation, because Charlie Walters, this could all just be speculation. The buzz now is that he wants $90 million. But in this hypothetical situation, if I'm Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, Kirk's camp approaches me and says, hey, 2 years, $90 million guaranteed, or we walk, I would literally respond with, don't let the door hit you on the way out. This is easy for me. It's very simple. I'm not stressing out over Kirk Cousins, nor should the Vikings organization. What do you have to lose with a guy like that? A quarterback who will be 36 years old, coming off an Achilles tear, going to another team. What do you have to lose? Oh, well, he's top 5, top 10, and all of these statistical categories for quarterbacks. Okay, great. And what has that resulted in? In the Kirk Cousins era, 6 years. Maybe a playoff appearance. Maybe a playoff win. That's the cap. A guy who needs all this money while also needing his hand held by the head coach, giving him permission to be great. What do we have to lose on that? I'd rather shift the focus, quite honestly, because instead of doing the same thing that you have been doing for 6 years over and over and expecting different results, it's time to shift the focus to say, let's just load up this roster as best as we can to where, okay, what we need from a quarterback is not as much because of these other holes on this roster, because of all this money we're paying to this guy. Similar to San Francisco. They've been to multiple Super Bowls, multiple NFC Championship games with multiple quarterbacks, Jimmy Garoppolo and Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Invest in the trenches. In this situation, Kirk, 2 years, $90 million. Combine that with Danielle Hunter, who's going to get about $20 million per year, anywhere from 20 to 25. But for the sake of this conversation, we'll stay on the low end, $20 million per year, because you back yourselves into a corner by not trading him. You have to re-sign him. Kirk Cousins and Danielle Hunter, just in terms of per year value, 2 years, $130 million. No thanks. You know what I would rather do? Going back to investing in the trenches, Danielle Hunter and DJ Reader, based on their projected market value according to Spotrac, instead of 2 years, $130 million for Kirk and Danielle Hunter and DJ Reader 3 years, $105 million. I'm going with door number 2. Well, what quarterback do you have? You're not going to be able to compete. What have we been able to compete for with Kirk Cousins? It's time to shift the focus, man. And even if he walks, say that Kirk Cousins, he walks away. The bridge quarterback, it's looking really slim. I talked about Russell Wilson. Money-wise, it seems like that's the logical direction to go, but I just don't think he's a good locker room guy. And it's not just me saying it. It's his former teammates that have said it. It appears that money-wise, Russell Wilson makes the most sense, but I don't want him part of the Vikings organization. But this is now forcing you, because of this money, allegedly, that Kirk Cousins may want, it's going to force you in a position to where you have no choice. Option A or option B. You either trade up for one of the top 3 guys, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, to be a day 1 starter, or embrace the suck if you can't. Either way, I'm good, because I know what we're getting and not getting with what we've been doing the last 6 years. And Justin Fields, I've seen his name floated around a couple of times. I mean, the way that KOC handled Josh Dobbs, they're very similar quarterbacks as far as their versatility, running around with the football, extending plays. And Dobbs, towards the end, before he got benched, looked like a guy that KOC was trying to force into being a pocket passer. Do you really trust KOC to be able to handle a guy like Justin Fields? I don't know about that. But if you're going to embrace the suck, okay, load up on this roster, man. Free agency. Talked about bringing back Danielle Hunter and signing DJ Reader. Okay. Going to the draft now. I did a mock draft as far as missing out on trading up for one of the top 3 guys. Moving forward with that, standing pat, actually trading down from 11. And for this, I used the NFL mock draft database. Trading down from 11 to pick 14, getting a second round pick in the process, specifically pick 45 from New Orleans. At pick 14, the Vikings select Jarrett Verse, edge rusher out of Florida State. 42, Michael Penix Jr., quarterback from Washington. So there's your quarterback you take in the second round. Pick 45, T'Vondre Sweat, defensive tackle from Texas. So bam, as far as the defensive line, you bring back Danielle Hunter. You sign DJ Reader as your nose. Harrison Phillips moves to a 3-4 defensive end. T'Vondre Sweat is your second DN. And Jarrett Verse is your opposite edge rusher of Danielle Hunter. At pick 108, Zach Zinter, interior offensive line from Michigan. 129, Braden Fisk, D lineman from Florida State. 155, Cam Hart, corner out of Notre Dame. 164, Austin Booker, edge rusher from Kansas. 178, having a punting competition between he and Ryan Wright. That's going to be Torrey Taylor, punter out of Iowa. And at pick 189, Josh Proctor, safety out of Ohio State. After this hypothetical offseason, you have massively upgraded your defensive line. You still need help at cornerback, sure, but I would say a better defensive line helps those cornerbacks out to where they're not running around like chickens with their heads cut off for 4.5, 5 seconds at a time because you haven't been able to generate a consistent pass rush, as was the case in 2023. It's going to take time to build this bad boy up, but it's time to hit the reset button, especially if that's the money that Kirk Cousins is asking for. We'll see, but this isn't hard at all. Don't let this dude put a stranglehold on your organization.